Hi, it's Ileana. So today I am going to be talking about Area 51, specifically S1. This is the bioengineering facility in one of the first sections when you go down underground into the underground base facilities themselves. So, what's on top of Area 51, the military hangars, the buildings, those are just surface level buildings where there's things that are normal. The things that are experimental, the things that are UFO crafts being reverse engineered, ancient AI technology being studied, creating human ET hybrids with gray DNA, the regeneration tanks, the plasma like fluid that heals things. That's what I had seen in S1. And they're doing a lot of DNA experiments. They're mixing human DNA with ET DNA, studying it, and they're growing hybrids in what I can only describe almost like a vat system in a regeneration tank. And you're seeing how the beings are grown from gestation to fully grown. And it takes time for them to go through the maturation process and develop. And then once they're fully grown, I'm assuming a soul steps in somehow into the body vessel. So when a clone is being created, the body grown, what can happen is they might not have an original soul come into the vessel of the clone. They might get a little disc, small, very small disc implant that has a vibrational frequency with somebody else's memories and experiences. And that's implanted at the back of the head or the neck. And it integrates with the cranial brain capacity, that little disc implant. And it's nanotechnology and crystalline technology. And it literally is the soul vibration that this clone will carry. It is not an original soul, but it is an implant of a soul frequency, because not all clones get a new soul walking into the clone body. Sometimes what happens is frequency-wise, there is technology with frequency vibration that can entrap a soul to come into a clone body. But usually the clone receives this little disc insertion, dermal implant through the skin to the back of the head or the neck. And it has memories and experiences, traits and characteristics of somebody that had been alive at one point or is still alive, and their life experience information and memories have been copied from them to put into this clone body that's grown and maturated at Area 51 in the S1 facilities. So again, the clone does not necessarily have to have a fresh soul walk into it or call in a soul to come inside of it. Sometimes beings who can do soul transference, who can do soul walking, will on purpose grow cloned bodies to put their soul frequency and their soul essence or part of it inside that clone body to operate it. But that is done knowingly and on purpose through planning to step into a clone vessel out of your own body, to step into the cloned vessel with your soul intact going in there. Then when you're done with the clone, transfer your own soul consciousness back into your original body, and then put the clone back into cryostasis to have it on backup. Some extraterrestrials can do that. These are called clone containers. They make them for themselves humanoid clone bodies that they can transfer into and come to Earth and do whatever they're doing. For sometimes it could be for positive reasons, sometimes not so much. Depends on the species and what they're doing. So clone bodies can be used that way as well, with soul consciousness and soul transfer through the electromagnetic frequency devices. So it can happen that way as well. That's not the case at Area 51, though. They're using those nanotech discs to store memories and experiences of other people to put in the clone, to power the clone. And the clone won't know that it's somebody else. The clone will think it's that person unless they're given other memories that are photonic inserts that are put on that disc, because the disc can be reprogrammed and more things of memories, traits, characteristics can be added to it, along with that programming of what the clone is supposed to do. The clone is programmed. That's what they figured out how to do at Area 51 with the maturated clone bodies of the human ET hybrids and the genetic imprint that they have on that clone. The extraterrestrials themselves who create those cloned body vessels, they might not look humanoid at all. They might have features that are not human. So they create these humanoid looking clone body vessels that they can transfer their soul consciousness into temporarily, or they could do it permanently as well. Most of them don't. It's to look humanoid, to fit in on whatever planetary systems, planets where there's human colonies, that these non-human looking extraterrestrials can be in the cloned bodies that are human looking and fit in with society, with whatever culture they're trying to blend in with to do their mission work for whatever purposes they're there for on the planet. So this way it helps them to blend in plain sight with the rest of the humans, and nobody will ever know the difference that these are non-human extraterrestrials and that they look different from everybody else because they're in a humanoid looking clone body that was cloned, and it fits in with everybody else, so nobody even suspects that something is going on unless they can read extraterrestrial soul signatures and frequencies. Then they might be able to tell that there's something not quite right with the being inside the cloned body, that they're not humanoid. But you need a lot of psychic ability to do that, to recognize extraterrestrials in cloned bodies or in their own bodies, walking around on a planet. So that can also happen in an instance with why an extraterrestrial that doesn't look humanoid would go into a human-looking clone body to fit in, to blend in. It's part of a protectionary security measure so that nobody finds out that they're not human in the first place, so they can be on the planet undetected for whatever reasons it's there for that protection and not be grabbed and experimented on by dark ops, black ops programs, secret this and that. There's a lot of that going on. So that's why some of these extraterrestrials will come in looking human to the planet, so they're not taken and not abducted as well. And these humanoid ET hybrids are then transferred into a circular saucer craft and taken away for training to integrate with the humans on the surface of the planet. That's what they were doing in S1, where I had been taken, and I had been beamed out from my bedroom by a light stream, and I ended up on a teleportation platform pad that looked sort of silverish blue, and I was given a white jumpsuit uniform. I prefer blue, so I didn't get really a choice in the preference of clothing that I was given. I was given a white uniform jumpsuit, and then I was taken through a large elevator down underground into S1. So the facility, the jump pads, it's in one of the main facilities on the surface where the jump room pads are, the teleportation pads, but then you take an elevator deep underground, and I was taken to S1 to do these DNA experiments to mix human DNA with extraterrestrial DNA to grow those hybrids in the regeneration tanks. I remember this vividly because this happened in 2015. And then when I would be finished with one of the projects, there's lights. There's these bright lights, white lights above every working station that a person is sitting at. And the walls are sort of very silver blue, almost like metallic in S1. And these lights start humming and vibrating, and they erase whatever you were working on, your memories of whatever genetic project you were working on. They erase that from your memory, so you don't remember much of anything, what you did, and then you're taken home, you're beamed back home. And then when they want you to work on a different project, they beam you in again, get you to do the work, erase your memories with these beams of light from these lights, and beam you back home through this beaming technology that they have. That's what I remember. And eventually I started having memory flashbacks of these events, and I would have extreme sensitivity to light. I couldn't stand bright lights after these beam outs in public places. Like, the bright lights would hurt my eyes, would hurt my head. I almost had brain fog. So there is side effects from this mind wiping with these light sources in the ceilings in S1. And S1 is underground. It's not in the above buildings on Area 51. Those are just for people to think it's a normal base, normal military base, but it's beyond that. There's so many different sections. There's about 6 to 8 sections: S1, S2, S3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and it goes down even deeper where the generator systems are that power the underground sections. I had remote viewed Area 51 as well, just to see beyond S1. And S4 actually is connected with tunnel systems to another facility. So small portion of S4 where they test the different UFO crafts, reverse engineering crafts. It goes through also a tunnel system in another section of Area 51 called S4. So it's only a small section that goes down through that elevator to S4, but the tunnel system with the maglev train systems and other types of vehicles, it takes you to an expanded range system of S4. It's a huge facility. It has many different buildings where they test different types of crafts. Then they have the smaller sections, like what I was saying with the elevator. S1 is not a huge section, but it's a medium-sized section. Then they have testing laboratories for studying ancient AI spheres, other things, a lot of repositories of information. the generators, the other things that are part of running the underground facility. So it's self-sufficient. It's very self-sufficient. Those generators power it. They have the tunnel systems that connect to other facilities. That's what I remember of Area 51 and what I had experienced there. And there had been a show with David Adair, who also mentioned going down the elevator, huge elevator shaft, somewhere underground, and seeing a craft that is thought consciousness sentient. It is a sentient craft that could communicate with him telepathically. It was a huge craft, several layers, several levels tall, and he was studying the damaged part of the propulsion system. And this craft had biological components to it, and it was a thought consciousness sentient craft, so it had living matter in it. And he describes the walls in this place as silver blue, kind of metallic sheen with a glow. And that's similar to what I had encountered in one of the areas of S1. Other areas have white walls, also a metallic field to them, but very white. So there's several sections within S1, several laboratories where they do the genetic preparation and genetic testing of splicing different DNA types from humans and ETs in the laboratories. Then they have the growing vats and the regeneration tanks in a separate area where they grow the humanoid ET bodies, fully maturate the bodies into human living beings. They look human, but they're taller than humans, somewhat taller. And that's what I remember of S1 in Area 51. And I also remember ships, saucer ships, being parked in a separate area from S1 where these fully grown beings would be picked up by other humanoid personnel. And the DNA was from Greys to create these hybrids. It was, I don't know why they were using gray DNA, but they were for these experiments to see what they can grow. It was human personnel. The Greys are not allowed in any of these S1, S2, S3, S4, S5, 6, 7, 8 levels. Extraterrestrials are not allowed. It's humanoid personnel, but they're using extraterrestrial DNA to create these hybrids. So after the 7 levels, S1 through S6 and the generators, there's also the other levels that go deeper even till level 4852. And that's where the CERN devices are, that where the time travel experiments were done, then the wormhole singularity experiments, going to another universe by using CERN type large generators to combine dark matter energy, white wormholes and black wormholes together to fuse the energy and create a sort of a combination wormhole sequence field where you actually have a wormhole created by these CERN type generators going past the singularity and entering into another universe. So they figured out how to do that in level 48. So that's been done. They've managed to take small crafts through it, through that, past that singularity in the portal sequencing. These are large facilities. Why would you have 90,000 acres of land annexed by the government just for one base. There's a lot you can do underground, and that's what they've been doing with it. Wormhole technology, experimenting with wormholes and large CERN-type generators to create stable wormholes underground where nobody is watching anything. How do you do the experiment? How do you manage it? There's no oversight because it's black ops programs. They've been able to do it on a huge scale and go past the wormhole singularity to enter another universe. Parallel realities, the Mandela effect. That's part of that wormhole experimentation where other realities have bled into our timelines. Then things had to be fixed and corrected. So you don't have 1,000 Mandela effects where things were correct the first time, then there's bleed-throughs of timelines that are not supposed to be merging with ours because of what the folks at Area 51 did with wormholes or time travel that didn't quite go right the first time. So then that has to be cleaned up, covered up, explained, or erased from the timelines. So if they've created any timeline incursions, then they have to clean up. They have to clean up those incursions. Those incursions have to be cleaned up as if they never existed. They're erased and fixed. So there's no ripple in time. There's no rifts or holes in the fabric of space-time. That's what the first time travel experiments sort of created and caused issues, which they then fixed. But again, they do that type of experimentation deep under Area 51. Thank you so much, and namaste.